Hello, and welcome to Module 1 of the Perl workshop. In this module, we'll talk a little bit about Perl, and we'll learn how to run some simple scripts, as well as looking at variables and other helpful functions. So first, what is Perl? Perl is a scripting programming language. It's particularly powerful for text manipulation. Where can you get Perl? Well, luckily Perl comes pre-installed on Linux systems and also on Mac. But if you are a Windows user, you can go to perl.org and you can go to their download page, and there will be a place for you to download the Windows version. So let's jump right into using Perl. So you can use any text editor you want to edit a Perl script. My favorite is called Genie. And Genie is it's available through the Linux repository. And if you have any questions about how to install Genie, let me know. But you can very well easily just use a text editor like gedit to edit your file. So the first thing that many learn in a programming language is called a Hello World program, where you simply just print Hello World to the screen. And in Perl, it is a simple one-line piece of code. So I started a new file, but let me save this file as hello world dot Perl. So the extension for Perl is either PRL or PL. See? Oh. I'll save it to my downloads. And now, so one thing I really like about Genie is that to execute Perl scripts, you will need a terminal. This is not necessarily the case with some other IDEs. You may be able to find one that's like Eclipse or NetBeans that you can simply just press a button up top here that runs the script for you. But here we'll be using the terminal. And what I like about Genie is that it has the terminal built in as one of these tabs. And the first thing we need to do is we need to be in the correct directory. So for those of you who have watched the Linux workshop, will know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't watched those workshops and you're unfamiliar with terminals, I would suggest to at least go back and watch the first module of that workshop to familiarize yourself with the terminal in Linux. So I need to find my script, which I saved into downloads. So if I navigate there, I see my hello world.perl, and I can say Perl hello world.perl, and you can see here that hello world was indeed printed to my screen. Now, you may want there to be a new line here. It's to print on its own line, and you can accomplish that by adding what is called an escape character, a new line character to be precise. At the end of your hello world, and you can rerun your script. And again, this is how you run your script. You say Perl and then the name of your script, and now you can see that it's written on its own line. So that's your first script, a simple hello world program. And all of these scripts, including this one, I will be putting on our website, and I will provide links to those in the comments section of this video. So now that we have been introduced to Perl, let's move on to something a little bit more interesting. And I have this program that I have written for the the first lesson here, and I will go ahead and make the text larger. Just for clarity. And again, all of these scripts will be up online that you can download. You can either follow along from scratch with this video, or you can download the script and follow along in the script. So the first part of this lesson was printing to the console. And I already showed you that if you print, you can print a string. A string, if you are not familiar with that term in the field of computer science, is nothing more than text. And it's denoted by double quotes around it. So before, you saw me use this command to print hello world to the screen on its own line, adding the escape character within the text. That's not the only way to do it in Perl. There's also two other ways. Of course, the first way is that you can first print your text and then print the new line character, and it will accomplish the same thing. You can also concatenate strings like this. You can say hello world, and then this is the adding to a string, and you can add the new line character. So that's just a few ways you can print to the console. And these are going to be really useful in debugging when you're writing a script, if you have some print statements in there to make sure that you're doing what you want to be doing. And as you can see, there's color coding now. The reason that there's color coding for these keywords in Perl is because I added this line up here. And this tells my compiler, or in this case it tells Genie, that this is where I should look for my Perl executable. So basically, where is my Perl installed? And it is installed in user/bin. This is useful when perhaps you need to use an older version of Perl, or a newer version of Perl, or a different version of Perl. You can just change this. So if you're using, for instance, Perl 6 instead of just regular Perl, and you have a different executable, you can change it here. Okay, so the second part we want to talk about is commenting. And you can see in red, denoted by these hashes before, these are comments. These are not Perl commands. These are just text. And you can write anything you want in a comment, and it's a very good practice to comment your code. So the next time you come back to a piece of code, you know exactly what you were doing or what you were trying to do in that code. So I've heavily commented this script because it's what you guys will be using as reference. And a lot of the things that I'll be saying in this video will also be reiterated in these comments. So I highly suggest that you download this script. So before, when we talked about what Perl was, I told you it was a scripting language. And one of the benefits of a scripting language is that you don't have to worry about types. And for those of you who are familiar with other programming languages like C++ or Java, you know what I'm talking about. But for those of you who do not, in those other languages, before you want to declare a variable to hold some sort of either a number or a string that later on you're going to do computation with. And in those other languages, you have to tell your system if this is going to be an integer, if it's going to be a string, if it's going to be a double, and etc. But in Perl, you don't have to. Perl is interpreted, so it knows, it will infer what your type is just by what you assign to it. So The creation of variables is as such. Each variable starts with a $sign and then a name. Now this name can be anything you want. I would highly suggest to make it meaningful. So here I have this variable and I have assigned the string hello world to this variable, and so I've called it hello text. And so this single equal sign here is assignment. So you really need to read it from almost right to left. I want to put this string into my variable, and now my program knows, as long as through this entire rest of the script, this variable is known, and I can print it. I could do computation on it, for instance. I can concatenate, I can add more text to it, and so on. And to print, I can use a similar print statement as we did above and just put the variable now. So that is an example of a string put into a variable. You can also make a variable that holds a number. So let's call it num, and we can set it equal to 10, let's say. So this is completely viable too, and you can do the same print. So if I wanted to print this number, I could just say print num. It does not have to be a round number. I can add as many decimals as I want. There will be some sort of numerical precision when it prints this number, but in general, you can put into your variables whatever you want. Now, you may not want just a single. Apologies. You may not just want a single entity in your variable. And in that case, you are looking at an array. In some languages, they're called sequences, vectors, but basically you have a structure that looks like this. Arrays are denoted by an @ sign and then the name. And it's the same assignment, but now within parentheses, you can assign multiple numbers or multiple pieces of text to your array. So when I print this array out, it will print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it will print the contents of the array. This is different than in some programming languages, where if I were to print an array like so, I would get a memory address. Perl is a little bit smarter, or more forgiving than those languages. And so it will, in fact, print out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you do not have to initialize an array to have anything in it. You can initialize it as an empty array. And the way you would do that is, let's call it empty array. And just set it equal to empty parentheses. So an empty array, you may want to create an empty array at the beginning of your computation, because later on you may be wanting to add things to that array. And we'll get into how to do more complicated things with arrays later on in this workshop. So inside of your array, you may want to access an element. And you can do that pretty simply. So this is our array. You'll notice that now instead of that @ sign, I have a $sign here. That's because I'm trying to access one element. And arrays always start at index 0 in Perl. So up here, our test array, this would be at index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I wanted to access this first element, I would need to, in square brackets, give it a 0, and that will return back to me 1, whatever is in that first place in the array. And again, this is just a basic overview. We'll work a lot more with this as we go on. So lastly, in this lesson, I just wanted to touch on some just basic math functions that you can use in Perl. And to demonstrate this, I have a few variables here that I've initialized. And so sum is, Perl does sum, product, division, subtraction, of course, and they all work in the way you would think they would. And for instance, also to square is the only difference in syntax that you may not be familiar with. In Perl, it denotes a squared as an asterisk asterisk instead of a caret, as a lot of people are used to. But it will do the same function as caret will. And at the end, I'm going to run this script, and we're going to see what the output is. And of course, if you have the script right now, you can run it as you wish, and you can look at the output now. Now, so these all work well with numerical values, but the same operations don't really work for strings, which is understandable, because addition of two strings doesn't really, you can't really define what one word plus another word is, numerically at least. So I have this new variable here, word, and if I try to compute the sum of x plus word, I am not going to get a concatenation of the two. I'm not going to get 10 word. I will just get 10, I believe. So let's run it and let's see. So this is lesson1.perl. Okay, so let's see if I can make this a little bit bigger. No. Okay, so you can see my output, and we are looking for the value of x plus word is, and this first statement here it's 10. So this plus did not add on the extra word. Perl didn't know what to do with it. It did its best, so it just printed out x and didn't worry about word. And of course, and as we saw before, the real way to do this, if you really want to add these two together in the sense of making a longer word, a piece of text, is concatenation. And that's done with a period. So here we say x period word, and now that, as you see, will give us the correct output that we are looking for. So run this yourself and play around with it a little bit. You can edit things and try your own experiments in Perl, and hope to see you next time.